subject. Nate Nathaniel.
I don't know. Let me bring in my talking monkey butler, and he will tell us what the next thing. We're talking about Umbrella Academy.
So stupid. Why? I thought I was the one with the dumb jokes. Come on, don't take my thing.
No, yeah. Yeah, so we figured, by the time you're hearing this, Umbrella Academy Season 2 has come out. But since this is the first time, and it's brother there, we're like, let's kind of dive back into the first season. And, huh?
I said over-explaining.
That's what my boss says all the time.
Hey.
You take it, because I'm over-explaining.
Umbrella Academy! So I guess, do we want to do the synopsis all over again? You know what?
No.
I freaking loved it. I liked it. And then the moment that I was like, this is something good, was, funnily enough, what you brought up, which was the Monkey Butler. When you see the Monkey Butler for the first time, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, this has, like, some money behind it. Because it's like the monkey, like, it might not have looked as good as, like, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but it was pretty darn close.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Umbrella Academy, we're not going to do a synopsis because, the show is so complicated, so twists and turns, you can't really confine it into a block. But the Umbrella Academy for me is a special show.
Yeah.
It is one of those that I can think back to, like I will always have a memory of when I either watched it or finished it.
Right.
For me, it's finished it. I can remember binging like 6 episodes in a row on a weekend where I was by myself and I just got pizza and I had a good old time. And it was like it went places I didn't expect it to go, and just completely, it was like, wow, this is special. Like, this is not just standard TV. This is something that has heart into it. And I really bonded to it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that is because it has its basic story, which is, hey, let's save the world or whatever. It has that as a basic, story. But then the lead up to it is very much, like, I guess you can make it akin to, like, Stranger Things Season 1. Mm-hmm. They took their time getting into the story because they were worried about characters and how are they developing, who are these characters. And so you get kind of the same thing here. My favorite part probably of the entire, first season is when we get to see Klaus's backstory and how he was a part of, like, he went, or I guess he doesn't have a backstory. Sorry. It's because he goes back in time. That's what I meant to say. I didn't mean to say back. But when he goes back in time, he falls in love with somebody during the Vietnam War and then somehow comes back forward in time. Like, that whole, like, Divergent or whatever. It had nothing to do with the story necessarily, but it built Klaus as a character. And Klaus was already a character that I really liked, and it turned him into an even more likable character because it gave him so much humanity and so much grief, but, like, in a real touching way. And it's just like, oh my God, like, absolutely love that. And it was a complete divergent. It's like, imagine if that episode from season 2 of Stranger Things was actually good. And that's what the whole Klaus thing was.
And what I think about the Umbrella Academy as well is, like, it's not like anything I've ever seen in terms of a piece of TV or film. Like, it's structured, the way it tells its story, the way that it, doesn't give you all the answers, just asks more questions, but yet when you find out those answers, it's a satisfying, like, conclusion.
Right.
And just the oddness of it. I think for me, I loved that.
Yes.
One of my favorite parts, like, after completing the series, looking back on it, one of my favorite parts is the dance scene.
Yeah.
Because it is so weird, but it, like, at the time you're watching it, you can understand what this is meaning to these characters.
Right.
And, like, you have at this point seen that they're dysfunctional. You kind of understand that, and you're getting to know them more. And when you care that much about the characters, you care about the story, I feel. And they somehow managed to make it to where you care about every single one of these characters on screen.
Exactly. And it's really hard to do that with an ensemble of what is it? 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. No, it's 7 of them, right? Because you got the big 8-man. You got the one that quote unquote doesn't have powers, which was totally obvious from the beginning. Then you have the one who can do rumors, the one that can curve stuff, and Klaus, right? I'm missing somebody.
You've got Ben. Okay, so, you've got 7, I think. Yeah, 1,
Who am I missing?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so you got Vanya, who's Ellen Page, Luther, Monkey Guy, Diego, Knife Thrower, Allison, who's the Rumor.
Rumor has it.
Klaus.
Rumor has it.
And you've got number 5, and then you've got Ben.
The time guy. How did I not remember him? And then Ben, technically, which he doesn't technically come around until the end, but still. So tell me, did you see it coming that Vanya had powers?
Oh, I mean, I knew she had powers from the very beginning.
Right?
I didn't know that she was the reason why everything was going to happen. Like, I kind of
did see her as a like Dark Phoenix kind of thing, because it's like, why would they tell her she doesn't have powers if it wasn't for something really serious? And it ended up being that. But at the same time, even though I knew where it was going, it was still surprising when it happened because of how well they set it up, you know?
Yeah, what I enjoyed about that too is how they were able to show the reveal, or show the, oh no, she's the reason, and then how it came about was like it was twists and turns at every corner. Right. So it's like, oh, of course it's gonna, oh no, oh wow, all right, you thought you saved, like the fact that and we actually talked about this, I think, when it aired, that the fact that it is legitimately their intervention that caused this to happen, or is the reason for everything, is like, wow, okay. Wasn't expecting that.
Because like the two things that happened right next to each other that was just like so shocking is one, Vanya cutting up Allison's throat just out of nowhere, like, oh, okay, yeah, she has powers, and guess what? Bye, sissy. And I'm like, oh my God. And then right after that, the guy who had been manipulating her the whole time, which somehow he knew that she had powers and was manipulating her the whole time, then he gets it almost directly at, like, literally it was like at the end of one episode was Allison getting her throat cut, and at the beginning of the next one, he gets like 80 freaking scissors, knives, and all this stuff embedded in him, and I'm like, oh, okay, tied that up pretty fast.
Yeah.
But it also sets Vanya up to be kind of like vindictive. It's like, I have been toyed with my entire life. I've been made to think that I'm worthless, that I have no value in this team. And then to find out that I do have powers, it was the thing that really set her over the edge, which is, you know, kind of how this all started, sort of.
Yeah. And I think another part of it that I really enjoyed was you know, I'm not gonna say second story, but the other side, the whole thing with the number 5's whole storyline and the hunters. I'm trying to find his name. Oh, Hazel.
Hazel. Yeah.
Hazel. Oh my God. So I don't know. I think we've talked about this before. Did you ever watch Mindhunter?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hazel was Ed Kemper. I didn't realize that until after I'd finished watching Umbrella Academy, and I was like, oh my God, like everything about his character, even him as a hunter, I really enjoyed, because it was such a weird dynamic. Like you could tell that this came from someone who writes outside of the norms of Hollywood. Gerard Way. You can see that clearly through the show. Like everything about it is so. Now, what I'm interested in is, you know, what's going to be going on with season 2, because when I finished the last episode, you know, the very end happened. What I thought was going to happen was they were going to go, because they showed up as their younger selves right before they jumped. I was like, oh, okay, so we're going to go back in time to where, like, we're all living in the house again, and things are going to change. Like, that's how they're going to, like, save the past happening that way. But from the trailer, that doesn't look like that at all.
My favorite part of the trailer is, like, Klaus has a cult, and he's like, I told my cult that we're going to die tomorrow, or something like that. Or we're going to die on this age, or something. And he's like, yeah, well, you might want to tell him. Like, another favorite part was something they did that like almost pissed me off, and maybe it pissed me off for a little bit, but I thought it was so interesting how they just went down a completely different route. Luther and Allison actually end up like getting together. They have this huge dance. They like kiss and everything, all for it to just reverse, and it goes back in time to.
Oh my God.
That was so heartbreaking because it's like people like the wheels that were turning there, and then all of a sudden just and it just goes back in time. But once again, it's just like the storytelling, like in any other show, if that would have happened, it would have been infuriating. But in this one, and the way like they structured everything was just like it was a interesting, like what could have been, you know what I mean? Like, and I loved it, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I'm curious too. Like, I'm sure I know the answer to this because I think it does it in the trailer. Ben is still dead, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Which I hope we find out more about that, because I think that was one thing that I kind of was disappointed by in season 1 is that they just didn't give an explanation of what happened with Ben. Like, they just left that completely blank and not any breadcrumbs, But I also think what's interesting about season 2 is how, like, something that I thought was a throwaway, whenever they're going into number 5 story, and where he was going to be the shooter that killed JFK. I was like, okay, well, that's just like a time nod, like, hey guys, we're really time traveling. That's what I percepted it to be. But I mean, perceived it to be. Thank you.
There you go.
Perceived it to be. But in the trailer, they bring it up. It's like, oh, this is this, this revolves around. I was like, are we gonna have like an episode about JFK? Like, are we gonna do this?
This is happening. It's happening. Oh man. Yeah. I can't wait for season 2. Obviously, we are going to talk about that next episode because when we're recording this is before the time, but then in forward into it's very confusing. I think that the most interesting thing about I don't know, it's hard to like pinpoint, like the most interesting part. I think it is just the characterization, of everybody and just how well it's done. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen moving forward. Obviously, one of the very first things that happens is that, like they're taking back the end of the world with them somehow. And so seeing how that works and everything. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite intriguing, maybe. I don't know. I guess the main thing I'm worried about is, they caught lightning in a bottle for season 1. And so, how's it gonna turn out this time around? Not only that, but one thing, in the real world, how long is it going to be until we get season 3? So, like, are they going to use this season to kind of wrap things up in a way where there could or could not be a season 3 and we would feel like it's a full journey? Or are we just going to have to wait like 2 years for season 3? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they're going to have a term like The Boys did, where The Boys is already greenlit for season 3.
Yeah, right.
And what I loved on that promo too was they were like, "Don't ask us when it's coming out." But,
right.
I think, for all intents and purposes, the Umbrella Academy is technically also a superhero tale. So it's one of those that it's it's always 50-50 in superhero sequels, whether it's going to be good or whether it's going to be terrible. I think the fact that there is already a good amount written throughout the comics and the story of the Umbrella Academy, that they have pretty much that literature to go off of. And if that is going to be the case and the writing is indicative of what we saw in season 1, like, sign me up, dude. I still want to go back and read the Umbrella Academy comics or books. I think, are they like in a graphic? I don't really know how they come, but the graphic novel I really do want to read. But it's one of those that I guess maybe I'll wait until after season 2 because I'm so ready.
Yeah, it's almost one of those things. I feel like comic books are a little bit easier to stay true because it's you kind of already have a storyboard, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like 300's a really good example of they actually used pages from the comic book to actually use as their storybook. So, but at the same time, I would hate to go back and be like, oh, you know, this is so much better. You know, that's why, like, that's one reason why I actually am very hesitant to read some books that I like the movies to. I know it seems weird or whatever, but it's like I don't want to go read a book and end up liking the book more, because then I'm one of those jackasses that go, oh, the book, it's so much better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be that person. I'd
Yeah,
rather
I mean,
just
we'll
enjoy
see.
things for what they are.
I've got high hopes, but I'm hoping that doesn't squander the season for me, because I had no hopes. I had no expectations with the first season, and I think that's what partially made it so special. So we'll see if they can capture that magic on the screen again.
Yeah. I mean, going back to Stranger Things, you know, that is what made Stranger Things Season 1 so memorable, is that here's this thing. Nobody was asking, hey, can we get an 80s fueled, you know, show that has a little bit of Stand By Me, a little bit of Stephen King, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Can we get that, please? No, nobody was asking for that. Nobody thought to themselves, oh my God, how cool would it be to have Goonies, but somebody has superpowers, you know? So the fact that it did come out of nowhere was so surprising. And I totally agree with Umbrella Academy. And unfortunately, this happens maybe a little too much nowadays, where I don't like the extremes of Netflix. And what I mean is that, like, we'll have something like Umbrella Academy, Stranger Things, that's just like, if you're not watching this, you need to be watching it. And then you have other things like the Iglesias show. It's an okay show, but it's extremely sitcom-y. It's extremely predictable, and it's just kind of exists. I'm proud that Iglesias gets to have a sitcom, and yay, good for him. But at the same time, it's just like, God dang, this is kind of boring, you know?
Well, let's see how they handle, like, that's something I'm kind of curious about Lucifer season 5. This is a fully, like, this is Netflix now. Right. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I mean, Netflix so far definitely has had misses. I feel like if I'm to give a percentage, it's like 80-20. Like 80%.
I'd even go closer to 50-50, because there are some that you just never hear about, because whether Netflix never advertises them properly or they never go into meme-ness on Twitter, there's just tons that I've never even heard of. So I can go to, like, literally onto Netflix originals, and there'll be like 50 of them that I never heard of, and it's probably because they suck, you know? So yeah. So that's Umbrella Season 1. Super excited for Season 2. We'll talk about that on the next episode, which will be... hold on, people.
We're getting the schedule out live.
So the next time we record is on August 12th. So if you want to get in your comments beforehand, that's when it'll be. But it'll be premiering on August 16th. So... these mid-sections, we always record them prior so that, you know, we don't have to have 8 straight hours of, you know, streaming on a Sunday, and we can have a little bit of a live, but, you know. So, let us know what you guys thought of Umbrella Season 1, what you're looking forward to.